discovered that there is a Las Vegas Atalanta fan club. So shout out to the guys listening in Las Vegas. I hope if there's some more Atalanta fan clubs elsewhere in the world, I'd love to hear about it because that's cool.
In fact, you should do this. Next time Atalanta has those ridiculously early sort of kickoffs, which I'm guessing in Vegas would probably be around 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Send us pictures of you watching La Dea at 4:30 in the morning.
Let's have that.
Then we'll know you're legit.
You're legit.
Give us your drinks menu.
Look, you mentioned already about the number of goals they're scoring. I have been a Gasperini sort of enthusiast for a while, but I just think the way they are playing this season, it was likened to Ajax recently by Fabio Capello. And look, perspective, all right, they're not in the Champions League semi-final, all right? But this isn't like one of those sort of just utility throw it away comments of here's someone good, so we'll compare to someone
one very
good.
specific aspect of their play was likened to Ajax. So
Yeah.
I don't see any parallel whatsoever, except for this specific thing,
but
which
Capello,
you'll tell us right now.
Yeah, Capello was talking about how both teams basically are willing to embrace one-on-one situations all over the pitch. You embrace one-on-one situations, and in that way you often, actually when you're defending in particular, can create free men because you don't need to have the one-on-one at one end of the pitch. If you're defending, those guys are suddenly freed up. And Gasperini actually talked about this right back in November. He gave an interview to Gazzetta in which he talked about a personal shift in his philosophy back when he was coaching for his second stint at Genoa, when he came up against Juventus in a particular game, and he was looking at what he had in defence, and he said to himself, Nicolas Burdisso is a good man marker. He also had Sebastian Di Maio. I mean, we're not talking about Nesta and Baresi here, but he was like guys that I think I can trust to play one-on-one with Tevez and Llorente. So instead of playing with a back with an extra man there, I'm going to let those guys play one-on-one. And in doing that, I free up an extra man for my defence, which means that we can distribute better. And this philosophical change, like he talks about, he said, up until that point in my coaching career, it was like a dogma for me. I always needed to have a spare man. Like you always have one guy on each person, and then you have a spare man. Whether using it's only a man, you always have someone free. And he stopped doing that. And he trusted his players to win these one-on-one fights. And I think you see it with this Atalanta team. They play on the edge the whole time. I mean, they press so high, so aggressively high up the pitch. If you look at the statistics for number of balls touched in the opponent's area, which is a really sort of random statistic, but it's an interesting one because Atalanta are way out in front, of teams like Juventus, who you'd think would be dominating opponents most. And that's a double thing. It's partly because the amount of pressure you're applying high up the pitch means you're winning the ball in those positions, and it's partly because of the philosophy of how you're trying to play with the ball, which is moving the ball around quickly, taking quick short passes on the ground. But it's working for them, and I think you saw it against Lazio. Okay, they conceded early, they kept playing high up the pitch, and look, Wallace individually for Lazio had like a next level nightmarish game, but they were there to take advantage of his mistakes every single time. The first goal, he's lost Zapata inside the area. They get the ball to Zapata quickly. When he's got that yard of space, he scores. The second goal, Wallace is, because he's been under pressure for the whole game, because he's playing badly, he passes the ball straight to Papu Gomez, cuts it back, Timothy Castagne scores. The third goal, fine, it's an own goal, but again, it's indicative at 2-1 up away to Lazio. They're still going for it. And I think, like, this mentality, this courage is something we actually talked about with Ajax off the back of the events game, without getting into specific this idea of the one-on-ones, that where was the courage from Juventus? Where has been the courage from lots of teams who faced Juventus? Because Atalanta, by the way, showed this courage in the cup against Juventus and beat them 3-0. And I think that, for me, there's this really striking like moment in the season for Atalanta, not long ago, like 3 games ago in the league, where they play at home to Empoli, who are in the relegation scrap, and they had 47 shots to 3. 18 of those on target. The last team to have 18 shots on target in Serie A was Roma against Catania 2006. They won 7-0, right?
Not just that.
Atalanta didn't score, as you said.
That game in 2006, they played the entire second half against 9 men.
Right. So like Atalanta, like so dominant and didn't score. They lose the game, so they draw the game, and they dropped at that point, like back out of the Champions League place, they dropped down to 6th. And at the end of that game, if you look at it, like you see all these players, Atalanta players, who are like on the floor because they're so exhausted, they've given everything to this game, they haven't got it. And I think a lot of people, myself included, looked at the remaining fixtures. Napoli away, Lazio away, Juventus away, and we thought, that's it. It's been a wonderful story, but it can't continue. Instead, they went away to Napoli, they won 2-1. And I think they were behind in that game as well, weren't they? They go away to Lazio, they go behind, they win 3-1. I mean, like, this is incredible, guys. This is incredible.
23 points from losing positions. They've managed 23 points after going a goal or 2 down, which is an extraordinary thing. But you had something to say about Inzaghi. You didn't think that he made the right adjustments.
No, but I don't think Inzaghi's a good coach. But I want to go back and talk about Gasperini. It's interesting what you say. There's a ton of conventional wisdom, and when you ask people, like, look what Atalanta are doing, the conventional, and this might just be people making excuses. Why don't other people do this? Why can Atalanta play this way and very few other teams? I guess I'll probably say very few other teams, except for some teams in Germany, seem to play this way. And the argument that's made is he's incredibly physically demanding of his players, and so these guys will need to be moved on, or next season they won't be able to play in this way. A lot of them, particularly the midfielders. Either you get in a situation where you rotate a lot, and he has rotated quite a bit, I think, with the central midfielders, or just physically they're really going to struggle, which may or may not be true. I think in Italy we worry about fitness and physical and mental biorhythms maybe more than we should. The other argument is that if you remember when he arrived, when they had, and Atalanta of course have a great youth system, when he had Conti and Gagliardini and Frank Kessie, they were really good, and then that team got blown up, right? They cashed in on anybody. And so because the next
players haven't gone on to great things elsewhere, by the way.
Yeah, they're still young,
Reminds me
but
of Dortmund, eh?
Conti got hurt, and Kessie, we'll see. Gagliardini, I would agree. But that is a good point you make.
Caldara's just been injured.
But what happened at that point was they said, all right, we're going to go and pick up kind of these not quite waifs and strays and Hattabor and Zapata, but these guys that, people really want and we can get. And you almost have a free pass. And he went into this season with kind of a free pass, right? He had that excuse that they blew up his team, and so these other guys coming in. And even though they had a tough start to the season, once they got going, it felt as if he was playing with house money.